So what makes Brady a killer? Well, you're going to see, again, a lot of the same patterns overlap here, but let's talk about Brady specifically. Killers have maverick thinking. They don't care what other people are doing. They don't care about the trends. They're constantly looking for what works. Brady has his own trainer and his own weird diet. If you've ever seen him without his shirt on, he looks like he has a dad body. He doesn't look defined, and his theory is that muscles need to be more elastic than rigid, and when you lift weights too much, they become rigid, which leads to injury. So he's married to a supermodel, and you'd think he has six-pack abs, rippling pecs, but no, he's sort of average-looking physically. You can see and this helps him too, because that fits his genetic composition. If you've ever seen him without his shirt on when he was initially drafted and went through the NFL Combine, Google it if you haven't, he kind of looks the same now. Yeah, he's in better shape, but the point is he doesn't care what other people think about his training regimen. He's trying to change the game. He's trying to innovate, and you've seen some guys start to adopt his training protocol. He's 41, he just won a Super Bowl, and he's had one major injury, I think, and I believe it was after that injury he started to change the way he trained and change the way he ate. The other thing we know about Brady is he trains his mind, as all killers do. Sometimes they have a formal process, or sometimes they just have it naturally. Jordan always visualized. He just kind of did that, and it helped him. He never had any training. I think when he was at UNC, he did get some psychological training, but before that, he just naturally visualized. And all killers visualize. They like to see the future. They want it so bad, they have to bring it into the present. He has... He's always playing mind games, too, during the game. Some defensive players have said, Brady, when you sack him, he'll compliment you. Say, good job. Just to kind of take the edge off the defense a little bit. What do? You want a guy to go, oh, you ain't nothing. Brady compliments the guys. Makes them maybe ease up a little bit. Always playing mind games. You see this with Tiger. You saw this with Jordan. Tiger, when a player would putt, he'd start to walk very quickly towards his ball, just to kind of get in their heads a little bit. He also trains his brain to fall asleep at night. I'll quote here, he tries to sleep by 9 p.m. and wake up without an alarm. He has a hard time unwinding, and killers typically do. They're wound up really tight. They're super competitive. Brady said, the body is a whole system that includes the brain. I'm lucky I haven't had many concussions, maybe one I can remember. I'm training for that if it happens. I'm building resiliency and staying sharp. I feel like that's really where my edge is. His mind is where his edge is. And he uses brain training to calm down at night and to keep his mind strong. Brady abides by the law of hard work. If you know anything about Tom Brady, he has an insane work ethic, which you'd expect because all killers do. You've seen the pattern in these bios. We've talked about it in the main program. They are dedicated to the law of hard work, and then the tendency of attraction occurs after that. He would wake up at 5 a.m., be at the gym by 5:30, and when some of his teammates would show up at 6:30 a.m., he'd say to them, good afternoon. It's kind of funny. So he's putting in hours around the clock, late night film sessions, the law of hard work. It's part of that paranoia. He never wants to be surprised by an event, by a defensive scheme. He doesn't want to be unprepared in any way. He follows the Boy Scout motto of ABP, always be prepared. Be prepared for any event. Okay, so that's something that you've seen in all of these. And if you take anything from the Killer Instinct program, take this. It takes 80 hours a week, 12 hours a day. It takes full dedication to really be great. Brady's also monomaniacal. A monomaniacal person means they're focused on one thing. And Brady, it's football. He said, I go to bed very early because I'm up very early. I think that decisions that I make always center around performance enhancement, if that makes sense. So whether that's what I eat or what decisions I make or whether I drink or don't drink, it's always football centric. I want to be the best I can be every day. I want to be the best I can be every week. I want to be the best I can be for my teammates. I love the game and I want to do it for a long time. But I also know that if I want to do it for a long time, I have to do things differently than the way guys have done it before. Got that? Okay. Hard work, Monomaniacal focus. Everything revolves around his passion. So imagine that the sun is football, and all the planets that orbit around that sun, his diet, his psychology, his throwing motion, all of that, it's all ordered around the center of the sun. The time he goes to sleep, the sun is his gravitational focus, and football is his gravitational focus. They're the same thing. Part of this preparation, I remember reading a long time ago that Brady would make his receivers catch footballs in the sunlight. So he would, go through before a game, he'd go through their routes, throwing them passes, and then he'd have them turn and catch balls facing the sun, just covering every base. Always seeking perfection. He still works with a throwing coach. Even during the season, if he feels his throwing motion is off, he'll meet with his throwing coach and really work on getting pop and zing back on the ball. He just did that this season. He's constantly improving. Tony Robbins has his CANI, constant and never-ending improvement. He's always looking for those fine details that can just add a little bit extra to his game. There's a famous quote in Any Given Sunday, I believe the movie is, about football being a game of inches. Al Pacino gives it. And really, when you're at this high level, it's fractions of an inch that make the difference. It's just a little bit more juice on the ball that gets beyond the defender's hands. It's these little things, and those little things, they're made possible by the extra work. The little things are made possible by the extra work. Brady has an irrational confidence. He's an underdog. He's been an underdog his entire life. But he also has this crazy confidence. When he was drafted sixth in the 6th round, not 6th overall, in the 6th round, he walked up to the owner, Robert Kraft, of the Patriots, and he said, "I'm the best decision this organization's ever made." That was the first words out of his mouth. He's a 6th round pick. He constantly feels underestimated. He has that chip on his shoulder. After he made it to the Super Bowl, when he won the conference final, he went into the locker room, according to some reports, and said, "I'm the baddest mother effer on the planet." Now, out when he this is why I didn't like Brady. Out when he talks to the public, he's Mr. Ho-hum, apple pie, all-American guy. Behind the scenes, he's a killer. That's part of his game. He's a superhero. He's Bruce Wayne. He just looks like an ordinary guy. Well, Bruce Wayne's a billionaire, but he doesn't look, you wouldn't think he's Batman. But then behind the scenes, he's Batman. He's kind of living that superhero life. And another thing, probably I think the thing that puts him in that conversation for greatest athlete of all time is the fact that he does it in crunch time. He does it when the pressure's the highest. I think that excludes so many athletes from that ultimate discussion. He's like Jordan. I think he has 5 game-winning Super Bowl drives out of the 6 he's won. He does it in the regular season. He's just a killer in crunch time, and it separates him from other all-time greats. He just does it. Everyone knows what's going to happen. I was just watching an interview with Shaq, and Shaq said, Shaquille O'Neal, that he was watching the Super Bowl when they were down 27 points or whatever it was to the Falcons. And one of Brady's former teammates tapped Shaq on the shoulder and said, "Watch what's going to happen now." Everyone else thought the game was over. They're down 27 at halftime. He says, "Watch what Brady's going to do now." When you start to expect the killer to perform in crunch time, and they do, that's an ultimate killer. When Jordan hit the game winner, you just were waiting to see it. You weren't surprised when it went in. There's some superstars, they make game winners and you're pleasantly surprised because it's like a new thing they've developed. Brady, Jordan, Tiger, they've had that crunch instinct since they were born. It's just in them. It's the way they think. You can develop it. Look at someone like LeBron James, who's got much better at closing out games. So start to develop it if you don't have it. I like Brady because like Tiger, like Jordan, they defend the kingdom. Once they're on top, killers defend. There's a it's the throne. This is my throne, and once I'm in it, you're going to have to overthrow the entire kingdom to get me out of it. I love guys that get to the top and then they defend the mountain. Jordan did it. Tiger was #1 in the world for how many years? Great authors do it. Brady just won't go quietly into that good night. He's going to stay on top as long as he can. You're going to have to. Maybe he'll retire on top like Jordan did until he came back to the Wizards. But if Brady doesn't retire on top, it might be ugly on his way out, because he's going to, until he has nothing left, keep playing. Some of my favorite stories about killers are how insanely competitive they are. It made me feel better about myself because I had a guilt complex about this. His former teammate of his, Darrell Revis, said Brady's desire to win is a sickness. And that's true. Killers have a sick desire to win. People don't understand it. A former player said Brady's psychotically competitive, and he threw a backgammon board across the room one time when he lost. Just furious when you lose. He once gave a pep talk to his guys when they were just playing a little flag football game against local firemen to not lose the game. I'll tell you a funny story. One time I was dating this girl and we went to play laser tag and my gun wasn't working. My laser gun wasn't working. And I was just meeting her friends for the first time. First time I'd ever really met any of her friends, and we're all playing laser tag, everybody's having fun. Well, my team lost 3 out of 5 games, and I was furious. Somebody came up and said, "Hey Dylan, relax." I said, "Oh, F off." This was a party, it was a birthday party, and I did that. So insanely competitive. There's no off switch for your competitiveness. There just isn't. When you're a killer, it's just there. He broke a ping pong. There's a story of Brady breaking a ping pong table after he loses, or a ping pong paddle, one of those things, one of the two. He's just insanely competitive and hates to lose. Gives his interviews, he's very diplomatic, he's a politician, he could work at the UN, and then behind the scenes he's ferocious. He's a killer. He's just a killer. The last 2 things I'll say are 3 things. Killers are patient and they're in a hurry. Brady wants to win now, he needs to win now, but you watch him play the game, he doesn't go for the home run every time. He picks you apart. He's methodical. He's not one of these guys who's going to, he can be patient in his pursuit of the victory he wants immediately. I see this with killers all the time. If it takes years to get what they want, they'll do it. They want it faster, but they're also patient. We talked about that in the program. Brady's so competitive, he said publicly that he has to work on his body language, because when the guys around him do not perform well, he feels angry and he lets his body language, his disappointment and disgust in their failure show. His body language is terrible. Michael Jordan had the exact same problem. Great CEOs often have the exact same problem. When you disappoint them, their face, their body language lets you know. And finally, I just have to conclude with this. I think it's so important when we talk, it sounds so intense, everything we're talking about. They're so intense, they're so driven. These guys are having fun all the time. This is what they love to do. Brady said, I feel like a kid. I get to wake up and play football. I have the best athletes in the world trying to intercept my passes. I have the best athletes in the world trying to catch my passes. Everybody, when you go out with a football, if you could throw a football, you just want 2 guys. One guy to run and catch and one guy to try to intercept your passes. Brady says, I get to do this for a living. I'm enjoying my life. Every day is exhilarating. I love what I do. I love my life and everything in it. It's one of my favorite quotes. So Brady's a killer. He's won me over. I love the guy. I don't just like him, I love him. I think part of the reason I initially was a Brady hater, I was never a hater. I respected what he did, but I was just such a Montana fan. Joe Montana growing up. But hey, you do it at 41 the way he's doing it, you're just a hater if you don't respect it. Maybe you don't like his personality, that's off-putting to you, whatever, who cares? It doesn't matter. Take from this guy, steal from his work ethic, learn from him. Get the monomaniacal focus, all of that. You have this in you, everyone does. okay?